Tyler started to allude to this for designated Roth accounts and employer contributions that are allowed now to be Roth instead of always pre-tax.
Yep. So as Tyler said, Roth IRAs, don't have required minimum distributions. However, historically, Roth 401ks or 403bs, TSPs, those did have RMDs. And now under this new legislation, you don't have to start taking those. However, there are still advantages to moving those Roth employer plans over to Roth IRAs. And I'll just mention a couple things. So one of the differences between taking distributions from, like a Roth 401k or 403b, is that the withdrawals, the amounts have to come out in different ways than a Roth IRA withdrawal. So for example, with Roth IRAs, you're taking out your contributions first, tax-free. Whereas with 401ks or 403bs, it's pro rata. So, there's an amount of your contributions, the growth, from the investments, from the invested amount over the years, that come out together. So there are some differences just to be aware of, and that's when you talk to people like us to figure out, what might be the better way to do that. But that's one of the differences to know about in that situation. I'm going to move on to the Roth contributions now being allowed for employer matches. That's really exciting because up to this point, if your employer matched your contributions, it could only go into a pre-tax for, again, we're talking about 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, and 457 plans. So if you're self-employed, this doesn't apply to you. So if your employer matches your contributions, they could only go into the pre-tax versions of those accounts. Now, as of 2023, you can have those designated to the Roth plans, which is great, but just keep in mind that you need to pay the tax now. So that could push you, into a higher tax bracket potentially if you're close on a threshold. So just something to keep in mind, but it is a great option. The caveat, there's always a caveat, is that if your employer matches have vesting rules, so meaning, employers will say you're not vested in your employer match dollars for 3 years, then this doesn't apply to you. You have to be immediately vested in those employer contributions in order to designate those to Roth accounts. So that's the big caveat. As well, not all employers currently offer Roth versions of their plans. So hopefully more employers will offer this option. If yours doesn't, that's not going to be an option for you, but perhaps your employers will do that in the future. Hopefully they will.
I guess the vesting requirement probably makes sense because they've made you pay taxes on the money already. So you should
Yep, good point.
to keep it. Oh, great. Awesome. Thanks, Jessi.